APRU Global Health Program is one of several programs that APRU has. The Global Health Program is based at the University of Southern California, which is where I am, and I'm the director of the program. So we know over the past couple of years, we have led a number of webinars on teaching and learning and education, and have been asked to talk. Please try again. Oh, sorry about that. To talk about more about building capacity around technology enhanced education. And so today we really have some experts from our network who are going to speak to this and provide some real world examples of what they do around this topic. I would also like to introduce to you the chair of the Working Group on Global Health Education and Technology, Catherine Chao, who is here with us, and she's from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. She's a teaching associate at the Office of the Dean of Engineering at HKUST. Prior to that, she worked at the Center for Learning Enhancement and Research at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. She has a PhD in computer science and engineering, but really now focuses a lot on research in postgraduate student education. So her research and teaching interests include research integrity, emotional resilience and intelligence, and mentorship. She's in charge of the Research Postgraduate Student Professional Development Program within the School of Engineering, and is interested in things like e-learning, blended learning, flipped classroom, and experiential learning. So thank you so much. And tonight we're going to have an or this morning, if you're on the other side of the world, we're going to have an interactive session where we will hear from two speakers, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So please put your questions into the chat, and we'll have some time for, after every two speakers, we'll have some time for questions. And then we're going to move out into breakout rooms after the Q&A for about 15 minutes each, to get to know each other and to share experiences. Then we'll come back, listen to the last two speakers, have Q&A, breakout rooms again, and some final reflections. So that's the plan for this evening. And let me go ahead and welcome our very first speaker. So our first speaker for this evening is Irma Eraña, who is from the Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico. Her topic is an overview of technologies used to enhance learning in medical education. And she's an associate professor and program in medicine national director at Tec de Monterrey. She's also a pathologist at the San Jose Hospital there, and she's a member of the Technical Council of the General Examination for graduate degree in general medicine. She holds a fellowship with the Foundation for Advancement of International Medical Education, an associate fellow of the Association for Medical Education in Europe, and is a certified CB coach by Conscious Business Coaching Plus. She received the Inspiring Professor Award in 2013, and many, many other awards that you can read on her bio on our website. But thank you so much, Dr. Eraña Rojas, for joining us today.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Catherine. So can I share my screen? Thank you, everyone. So as Melissa mentioned, I'm gonna talk to you a brief overview of the technologies used to enhance learning in medical education. So the outline of my talk will be technology enhanced learning. What is it? What's it about? But we're gonna see an example, the virtual pathology lab, and some other smaller examples of how we have used digital platforms, apps, and webs. So how technology enhanced learning is the application of information and communication technologies to teaching and learning. And there are three broad approaches. We will see replicating. That means that we know a traditional course, and now we use it with technology, the same course. We have seen a different approach that's supplementing. That means that with technology, we modified a module or extra material that will be used in a course with technology. And transforming, that means that's a structural design in which we do a redesign process of the learning activities, so they will be more engaging and we can have active learning. But first, I wanted to see some definitions of enhancement of learning according to Keyword and Price. They talked about three aspects. Operational improvement, that means that it gives students greater flexibility. Resources are more accessible. We can have also quantitative change in learning with this enhancement. It means that there's improved engagement in the students, there are favorable perceptions. That means that in satisfaction surveys, they get higher rankings. There's an improvement in tests or assessment scores. And we can have qualitative change in learning too. That means that students can achieve deeper learning or higher order thinking, more reflection and better interactions in collaborative activities and discussions online. So with all of this, I wanted to show you the approach in the virtual pathology lab and some activities that we did that are replicating, some supplementing, and some transforming. So as you know, pathology regularly uses slides and microscopes. So that's the traditional way to teach pathology. And we wanted to do something different. And the first thing that we did is digitalize the slides. And we had a list of the cases in just an electronic form, but this was just replicating. So it was the same thing as having the slides and a list of diagnoses. So it was really not much of an advancement at the beginning. So technology by itself is not the main feature that we have to focus, not only changing things, but knowing what to do with that technology. And so we designed in a learning platform, like this is an example in Canvas. This is in Spanish, but I will take you through it. So this is Canvas. And in Canvas, we had all the labs, laboratories, and practices. And in each practice, we built a case, just a made-up case and with clinical symptoms. And sometimes we had radiology images, sometimes we have gross pictures or clinical pictures, and we had a slide. And that slide, well, the student could use it also to see the findings. But what we wanted to do is an instructional design, so the student knew what to find on those slides. So this is a brief example, again in Spanish, of the cases and all the description that the student needed to find in each case. And the next part was how they will be showing their findings to us. So that was, I think, for us, the most important part, because when you looked at the microscope and you asked a student, do you see this? And they say, yes, it was very difficult to really know if they were seeing what you wanted them to see. And with this, with this, we asked them, find an image in internet, in the web, that's similar to the case you're finding, and select the areas that you think are characteristic. And also find, now this is the in Blackboard, before Canvas, we use Blackboard. This is the digital slide. And now those signs that you see, those were done by a student. And that's an easier way to communicate between teacher and student of what they were finding. So the communication was enhanced there. There were different types of deliveries. Sometimes we asked for PDFs, sometimes they did PowerPoints, and sometimes we used class notebook. Class notebook is a portion, like OneNote has this option. Students have a collaborative notebook where all students could go in. So as you see in the left side, we had all the practices of the course. And here are the practices, and the students were marking and putting the images, and another set of students were doing a review if they had added all the important things that they needed to add. Sometimes the review was the feedback that they give back to their peers was that something was missing. So this was previous, before I got the chance to give them feedback. So this was a collaborative work between two groups of students. So students were really engaged in the classroom, but they were also engaged outside the classroom. Some of the students shared this picture with me. This was their Facebook group they used to discuss some of the images and see if they had found the characteristic things in the image. So with that pushed us to find different things and see how this knowledge could be transferred to others. So we did the same thing in Schoology for residency for gynecologists. First year residents also had in their objectives pathology. So we had cases of cytology and pathology for residents with a similar format as we had for undergraduates. We also did 2 iBooks. This was supplementing material, talking about the approaches. So being supplement to the lab, they had some information, some drawings, and they also had like a review and outlines of what we were seeing in the course, and some of the images that have some interactivity. So iBooks, this is free for the students. You can find them if you have iBooks. You can go there and they're free. So that was supplementary technology for the course. So with the virtual pathology lab, we were trying to increase student motivation and engagement. We improved the availability of the study materials. They didn't need to wait to the lab to go to those materials, facilitate the teaching learning process, promote critical thinking, and have a more comprehensive approach of what is pathology. We also use apps. These are the 2 apps that I use the most, Socrative and Nearpod. In fact, the one that I use the most is Nearpod because it has so many resources, and we can have quizzes, but we can also have some gaming, the same as Socrative, and students really like gaming. So they both accept pictures, and we use a lot of pictures in pathology. So they are very, they like them very much. For residents, now with the pandemic, we use an app that's called IP Webcam that can share whatever you're seeing in your cell phone directly to an IP web page. And with the pandemic, we were reviewing images with students like that with the residents. And Zoom also has Annotate, and Annotate also helped us a lot as a collaborative instrument for identifying things in pathology. Another one of the teachers, this is not me, used memes for immunology. So they did, they used it in Instagram, and students have to find certain and make certain memes that will follow the objectives specified by the teacher. Another one for faculty used VR for the mitochondria. So they were students also using this. And I wanted to share this last part because I think it's very important. So we were using, another teacher was using Kahoot, but this was used mostly during the pandemic too, because our first year and second year students did not get the chance to integrate as a group because of the pandemic. They did not know each other. So in the top, it says, who am I? And the students gave certain characteristics that describe them and pictures to the teacher, and they had to see if they could identify who that peer was. And we also use Miro for something similar. Miro, all the students are inside. They share pictures that did not have themselves in it, just characteristics of what they liked, and post-its. And they were all inside putting post-its to see whose student was whom. And at the end, after they put all the post-it, we discussed why each student had shared those pictures and why they think those pictures represented them. So these were activities that we were doing also to foster integration with the students. And so the final message is to try new learning experience for students, create spaces to support teaching and learning process, engage the students with innovation and motivate them to participate. That's the hardest part sometimes. And always view students as innovation allies. They really like when you as a teacher try to do things for them. And And this is for us, document, analyze, and share your experiences. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was great. I have so many, I want to hear so much more about this. So we'll wait till the Q&A, but so many wonderful ideas. Thank you once again for sharing those. Let's move on to our second speaker. We have June Chan, who's head of technology enhanced learning at the Center for Education Innovation at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. June has been working in the e-learning field for decades. At HKUST, she leads a team of e-learning experts, including instructional designers, online interactive content developers, learning technology specialists, etc., to support the institution-wide e-learning initiatives. The team leverages learning technologies to improve faculty and teaching staff's pedagogical needs. Key initiatives include blended learning, massive open online courses, asynchronous and synchronous online teaching, mixed mode teaching, etc. Prior to joining HKUST, June worked in Hong Kong's flagship carrier, managing a team of e-learning experts to support the corporation's worldwide e-learning strategy. So welcome, thanks so much, June, for joining, and looking forward to your talk.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa, and also thank you, Catherine, for inviting me. So I'll share the PowerPoint now. So hopefully you can see my PowerPoint now. And as Melissa mentions, actually since 2013, our center has been advocating the blended learning approach and helping our instructor to transform. I use the word the previous speaker used, to transform or redesign the courses, their lecture-based courses, into blended learning course. And today's my topics will focus on the blended learning approach and how we leverage analytic to support the approach. At HKUST, we tie the blended learning approach closely with Bloom's levels of learning, or Bloom's taxonomy. So there are two key components, as you may aware, for blended learning. We've got the online component, the self-study component, and also the in-class face-to-face sections. So for the online self-study component, it focuses on the lower level of learning in Bloom's taxonomy. It helps, we hope the students will be able to recall or explain some fundamental knowledge during that stage. And of course, there will be some basic applications of knowledge. And at the end of the online sections, students will be given some knowledge check to check their understanding of the online materials or online content. So when they come to the face-to-face in-class sections, instructor will provide a concept review sections to try and correct any misunderstanding or misconceptions while they are doing their self-study. But the majority of the time in the in-class sections will focus on comprehensive applications of knowledge. Instructor will redesign a series of hands-on exercise for students to participate in, with the aims that they can demonstrate what they have learned from the online sections. And the exercise can be instructor-led or student-led, depends on how the instructor designed the exercise. So the ultimate aim is to, some other people, they may use the term flip the classroom. So we move all the fundamental conceptual knowledge into the online sections for students to self-learn and make available the in-class time with the instructor's support to facilitate students to achieve the higher level of learning. So this is the goal. And here's a weekly learning pattern for a typical blended learning course at HKUST. So at the beginning of the week, students will be given some lecture demonstrations or lab videos for them to watch. they will be given the knowledge check to check their understanding on the video materials. They may also be given some pre-class preparations to do. For example, they may need to read a case before the class, or if the class is a programming course, then they may need to do some software installations prior to joining the class. So when they come to the face-to-face in the week, it could be fully on campus, it could be real-time through Zoom, or it could be a mixed mode of the two. And then the instructor will conduct the concept review first, focus on some common mistakes from the students. There will also be followed by the individual or group-based activities for students to apply what they have learned from the online sections. And at the end, the instructor will do a debrief or recap what they have learned from the two components in the week. And at the end of the class, they will be given some take-home exercise like the assignments or project. This actually serves an extended opportunity for students to further apply the concept and skills they have learned. So this typical weekly learning pattern will be repeated throughout the 13 weeks semester in HKUST. The aim is to gradually build up the scaffold students with the knowledge and build up their skills to apply the knowledge into other scenarios or problem. Okay. So, but wait a minute, we do have concerns from instructor. They are skeptical about the online self-study component because they have no control over student self-study, and they do not know whether their students are ready for the in-class sections. And we think that these are very valid concerns, yeah, because they really have no idea how they're performing. So we decided to provide some analytics to support the instructor in delivering this learning approach. Here are two sources of analytics. We do have other analytics, but for the sake of this presentations, we just focus on this two. The first one is a video analytic. Our team developed it ourselves. So basically, we put all the videos into a video streaming service at HKUST, and there will be file to log students' actions when they retrieve a video, when they watch, pause, play. So all this will be captured. And as instructor prior to the in-class sections, they will be able to see this kind of video analytic. For example, the sample screens here show all the students in the class. And it also lists out all the video for the week. For example, in this week, we got a video 1 to 9. And instructor will know the average, the percentage of students completing a video, watching a video. For example, in this case, student 001, he has completed video 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9. He has also partially completed the rest of the video. So, and for another example, like student 005, actually, you can see that there's an empty cell here. It indicates that the student has not accessed this video yet. So this kind of gives the instructor an overall picture about how the students in his class progress through the video during the week. So prior to the class, he can identify a student who may be at risk and send emails to remind them to get themselves prepare well or watch the videos before they come to the class for the activities. And here's another two diagrams that capture the students' behavior during the video watching. The one on the left actually capture the replay actions of the students. At the bottom, the blue lines actually indicates the total number of students who have played the video. So if there's 100 students in the class, this will be at around 100. So the top bar, the top line, the orange lines indicates the total number of time this segment of video is being replayed. So if there's is a big gap between the blue and the orange line, it may potentially indicate that students find this segment very interesting or very important or very challenging to them. So that's why they keep going back to replay this segment. And then similarly, on the right, there's another diagram showing the pause actions. So this is when the orange lines indicates when the students play to this segments, they pause at this point. So if there's a big gap between the blue, which is the total number of user pause the video one time, and also the extra time of students they pause at this segments. This big gap also indicates that this segments could be quite important or challenging to the students. They may need more time to digest the content or to go out and do some Google the terms in order to help them understand the contents. So this charts and diagrams here are actually quite useful to the instructor for them to review their own materials. So when they spot this kind of behavior at the end of the course, they can actually go back to the segment of the video to see why this segments attracts the students so much. Does it require some further elaborations to help students understand the content or not? Okay. So and then at the end, of course, this one is quite handy. It leverages our campus learning management system. Is a quick statistic. So as I mentioned, during the online self-paced mode, students will be given some concept check.
Oh, all of a sudden we can't hear you. Are other people having trouble?
Yeah, I cannot hear either.
Oh, June? June? I was talking away. That's so weird. Her audio went up. June? She can't hear. So strange. Okay. Well, I guess we'll come back to her. Kate, do you want to move on?
Okay. I just type her and hopefully she can see the message. So let's move on with the Q&A. Okay.
I have a question while we're waiting for other people. Irma, you mentioned, I know you didn't have much time, but you mentioned using annotation and even memes. I'm still unclear about how that works.
Yeah, so the annotations I used it here with Zoom. I don't know if you have not used annotations with Zoom. So if you go to the option part of the menu in Zoom where it says view options, there's a pen there that says annotate. And so all the students have them at the same time, and I can ask them to signal something or write something on the board. So that's kind of not that complicated because Zoom provides it for all of us. So I don't know if you just go to the options, and I don't want to write in the slide, but right now we could all write on that slide if we wanted to. So I put students sometimes so that at the beginning of the class, so students that have not used it before, we do a trial and then we go on with the class, and we use it a lot in pathology during Zoom. Yeah, and you can erase it by yourself or the teacher could erase it. So I'm sorry, June's there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We missed your last two slides, but no worries.
Oh, okay. So just the two last slides.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. Any questions for Irma and June? Any other questions? Because I do have some questions, but just let other participants to go ahead first, if you have any. Well, if you have any, feel free to turn on your microphone. But for Irma, I remember your last point, the last slide, last point. I don't quite remember the exact words, but you mentioned a lot about students, like while you're designing your teaching, you're keeping students in your minds. It's kind of like student-centered thoughts. So I'm just thinking, what do you think about involving students in the design of technology enhanced teaching? I mean, let them help you design, because we did talk about this with my colleagues before, but somehow we never got it started. What do you think about that? Any challenges?
So inviting students to participate with us, I think that's something that we need to do just like a habit now. So for everything that we do for them, they have to have a voice. So I have mentioned them as allies because sometimes when we are trying new technology, well, they feel like guinea pigs. But when we talk and explain them why, and they see, so especially when I try to use it, it's not for a summative assessment, it's more for formative. So they really appreciate that because they see the extra work in the faculty, and sometimes they make suggestions on what works and what it doesn't work for them. And well, I think that feedback is crucial for modifying and do the adjustment that you need to do for the course to be more engaged.
Thank you. So should I go ahead, or anybody else have any questions? Because I do jot down some questions. I have a question for June. You mentioned video learning and analytics. Oh, I saw some message in the chat box. Okay, let's go with this question from Melissa. For June, so she would like to incorporate the analytics in her teaching. So how do you assess these tools? Are they part of the learning management system?
Yes, we actually we have a variety of analytics. Some are from our learning management system, Canvas. It got quite a lot of handy data there. For example, like the last slides that I have about quiz analytics. So actually it capture, we use it for facilitating student, instructor to design their concept review sections, because this tool will be, the quiz tool will be used for the knowledge check. And then the students' response will be reviewed by the instructor the day prior, or 1 or 2 days prior to the in-class sections. So the instructor can analyze the weakness of the students and whether there will be misconceptions for majority of the students. So he or she can incorporate the question or related concept into the concept review sections to share or further elaborate the idea to the students prior to the in-class activities. Because the in-class activities may base on the concept learned from the online. If there's misconceptions in that particular area, it has to be ironed out first before they proceed to the in-class activities. So this is one source. The other source, the video analytics I covered, actually is a development by ourselves. We work together with our information technologies team to set up a video streaming server. We put all the video for the which will be included in the blended learning courses there. And every sections of the students will be captured. For example, when they log in, when they play the video, when they pause the video, when they repeat, and how much they have completed a video. So all this will be captured. And of course, the video log will be something not readable. by the instructor. So we have another colleagues who create this kind of template. I show you one or two of the screenshots, and he created a template and do the scripts, and which will automatically retrieve the video log data and present it to the instructor in a much better or readable way. So, and there are also some course analytics available in the learning management system as well. And we also leverage those to see how students progress throughout the 13 weeks of lessons, because it will capture. So when students go in during the 13 week, if it's a blended learning course as compared to lecture-based course, we always see this kind of patterns going up and down, up and down. But if there's a midterm exam, the participations or the page will drag up significantly, and then again very regular, going up and down, and then before the final exam, it will again drag up very significantly. So we have been developing and implementing blended learning course for quite a number of years, with I think about 60 courses already, and we see this kind of pattern regularly. It's because of the course design, because we release online materials at the beginnings of the week and ask students to do something. And so they have to go into the learning management system to watch the video as well as doing the exercise. And then we see the same pattern in the other week and the third week, the fourth week, something like that.
Thank you, June. I just typed the tool's name in the chat box. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the name I got. It's called VSEC, and I think the inventors, they have already published some papers. So if you're interested, you can Google it. But if I remember correctly, before this, there's another tool called VSMOOC, which was used to analyze the student learning statistics on MOOC courses. So any other questions? Then I think it's time for us to move on to our next speaker, Melissa.
I think now we go into the breakout room.
Oh, right. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So
I created them.
okay.
Do you want to give us a prompt?
Okay. So let's spend about 15 minutes in the breakout room to have some brief conversation about what we just got from the two speakers. And at the end of today's, near the end of today's event, we may have some sharing any key points you got through your discussion. So in the breakout room, it would be better if we can have somebody to lead the discussion, and also somebody who may drop down some notes so that you can share a discussion with all of us at the end. And it would be better if you can have a timekeeper, but we'll remind you if time is going to be up. So we have some discussion questions here, but of course, these are questions that we have in mind. You do not have to follow them exactly. If you have anything that you are interested in, please feel free to talk about them. So, okay, Melissa just created the breakout room. Now we can join in.
Kevin and Jacqueline, are you having any trouble? She gang? I think I put you in.
So it was a challenge not just in getting the students to understand the topic at hand, but it was also, there was also a combination of really trying to engage them across the discipline. And to do so in such a huge population, we have 74 tutorial groups on average. And so it was really trying to engage that many students across so many other tutors, and to have some form of standardization for the teaching content. So let me now just share with you in real life how we would conduct some of our lessons. It's just a simple one. I'd like you first to, if you have your camera on your phone, to just scan this QR code, or if you could just go into the website called www.wooclap.com and just come into the lesson that I've prepared that's called APRU 2022. Just something fun for a change, nothing too serious. Okay, this is actually not so much to get all of your responses, but really to show the class how to show all of you in just one activity, short activity. I won't take more than a minute in this one, to show how we can actually get students warmed up and encourage them and actually ask pertinent questions in between the course, right? I'm not going to insist that everybody signs in. Is this just an example to show you how to? I can see 8 people are in already in my group here. So let me just go ahead and start the quiz. What I want you to do, I'm just going to give you a minute to go in and do a matching activity. It's a very simple one in which you choose the item or you match the item to the time period. So for example, which decade do you think the overhead projector was first used, right? So just key in your matching, and then I will be able to see your responses. So when you have already finished the matching, you just click on the tick or the submit, and then we will be able to see your responses. So I'll just give you 30 seconds. I'll stop talking and let you get on with it. And if you want to see the picture more clearly, you just need to click on the photograph and you would be able to see the picture. If you have not been able to get into this site, let me share with you this QR code if you have not been able to do it. So for those of you who missed the QR code, or you could just go into wooclap.com and under the lesson, just go into APRU 2022. And you will come into a page in which you can get the answers, right? So I can see 8 of you have already clocked in some answers over here. I can show which are the common ones, but I'll tell you the answer in a bit. Don't take it too seriously, guys. this is just for fun and just to test to see how old you are and what kind of era you come from. Are you a boomer? Are you a Gen X or a Gen Y or a Gen Z or the millennials? Okay, right. Without taking up any more time for my talk, let me just share with you. So you will see that, for instance, the answers would be on your phone right now if you have access to you have access using your phone. You can see that the projector, overhead projector, really started in the 60s and the mouse in the 70s, PowerPoint in the 80s, Google in the 90s, YouTube in the 2000s, and Zoom only in the 2010s, right? So this is just the kind of activity that we do to engage our students in class when we want them to start thinking along what we want to talk about. We also use this to check for understanding, and so it is a really fun one. There are many options you can choose within a tool like this. So like June, we also engage our students first in our courses run with asynchronous online lecture that the students access at their own time. And we use a LAMS system, which is called the Learning Activity Management System. And that allows us to really break up a long lecture and check the students' understanding as the lecture go on. Because this is done on their own time, the students can rewind, fast forward, pause, and it's really on demand. So it's very similar to what June had shared that her university uses too. Frequently, we use this, the quiz is on the right, so they would watch a lecture and like in the 10th minute, a quiz would be inserted and they would have to answer. There would be about 3 or 4 questions to check the understanding of the part that they've just watched. And then they would progress with another segment of the quiz, of the video lecture. Right. Another way that we engage our students in the tutorial. So after they've watched the online lecture in the week, they come into face-to-face class for 2 hours each week. And this is where we engage them, even though they are face-to-face lessons. During the pandemic, they were on Zoom. But similarly, we use a tool called Padlet, especially for presentations and group work, to show it's like a platform in which all the groups can see what the other groups have done. There are also collaborative tools that the students would use, like SharePoint documents from the MS Office toolbox or Google Docs, depending on what the students are familiar with. And I just want to share a point about the students that we have in Singapore, or the Asian students that we have. The reason why technology has been a real boon for us because of the personality types of the students that we face. Now, this is taken from 16 personalities, which are the Myers-Briggs type indicator, if you're familiar with personality tests. So I count the information from there, and as expected, these are the data from Singaporean people who have done it in Singapore. And as you can see, the number of people who are extroverted is really less than half. And honestly, in our classes, what we have experienced is there are many introverted students. And in Singapore in particular, under the feeling category, Singapore tops the world's, well, based on 16 personalities, they have a huge database. Singapore tops it. That's not often that Singapore wins any gold in anything, but this is where Singapore tops a personality type that's called feeling. And this feeling trait basically means that decisions made by the people, the students, tend to be based on the well-being of others. And so it ties in with their introvertedness. They're not so willing to share, they're very hesitant to share openly how they feel, or to be the first one to give an answer. for instance. And it's really precisely because of this type of students that I felt that technology has somewhat kind of leveled up for these students. And when we use them, you will see these introverts all coming out. So in this case, I'm just pulling out a Padlet for you to see. We have done individual work. Students who otherwise would really be very afraid to speak up in class, when we put them onto technology that allows them to put their input in, you will see, oh, this is really every single picture and comment in there is by a single student. And this is all done in 15 minutes. In that 15 minutes, you would otherwise never hear so many students contributing, sharing openly. So this is where I felt technology has really come into its own over here. And like what I did in WooClap with you just now, we do a lot of different types of quizzes to check in on their engagement and their knowledge and understanding during class. And what happens is on the right, you can see here, WooClap in this case is able to export the data of how the students have responded in class onto an Excel spreadsheet. And then I would go in to look at the students' answers. I would go in to see what their responses, and sometimes we will pick out trends or things that of what we can learn about how our student is feeling or understanding during our lessons. But I would just want to caution when tech is dangerous, because our students come into class, they flip up their laptop, and this is where we as instructors really have to be very careful that when tech becomes a distraction, because there is digital deluge, there is information overload, there is distraction. Students are on their phone, they're on their laptops, they're on their iPads. And what is most disturbing to me that I see is digital dementia. Students can answer the question in class, but when you test them a little bit later, they may have forgotten it because they have just Googled things. And similarly, digital deduction, in which when you ask a question for them to respond in class, they respond really well, or they would just turn straight into Google and even type in the exact question and give you a standard answer. So I found that we really have to be very careful about that so that students start to think for themselves and not just always depend on the internet for their information and technology. Right, and of course, tech does fail as it does, and we were sharing in our breakout room that even places fundamental things like in our context, there's sometimes the entire network fails. So it's really back down to your teaching skills. I have what I call a wet tech program or non-digital option every time in class, because technology will always fail us at some point. And of course, when totally there's a blackout or things like where we can't even access all this, and it's always homework, right? So let me just finish off with the wise saying of a famous philosopher. I'm kidding. And that is really with technology. One day you're in, the next day you're out. And we as instructors, as teachers, have to keep up to date with them, but fundamentally we have to depend on engaging our students first in their learning rather than get sidetracked by technology. So thank you for sitting into this a little short sharing. I hope that I've given you some food for thought, and these are just some pictures of the beautiful campus that is Nanyang Technological University.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And if people have questions to learn more about that, you can type those in the chat, and while we listen to our final speaker. But thanks so much, Janice, for that sharing. So I am pleased to introduce our final speaker for this evening. Nati Amin graduated from Chulalongkorn University in Thailand in 2004 with a degree in DVM. Later, he received the RGJ PhD program to study a PhD program in, I had never even heard of this word, theriogenealogy, which is swine reproduction, at the same university in Thailand. And he's also pursued postgraduate studies in swine artificial insemination and hormonal control at Michigan State here in the United States. He has his PhD, and in 2019 established a virtual pig farm for students visiting and used teaching material as to provide education. So he's currently a lecturer and the director of the Continuing Education Center at the Faculty of Veterinary Science at Chulalongkorn University. And thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Marisa, for inviting me as a speaker today. And thank you, the APRU, to have me as a speaker today. Okay, good morning, everybody. Everybody can hear me clearly or not? It's okay. Okay, let me share my slide today first. Okay, share this. Everybody see my screen, right? Okay. For today, okay. For today, I'm gonna talk about the learning and teaching pro virtual farm. That we simulate that in our university during the COVID situation epidemic in Thailand, and also we face with some of the infectious disease in the swine farm in Thailand. That everybody know about it, African swine fever. That's epidemic around Asia, start at China, to the Vietnam, and also in Laos and Cambodia, around Thailand, and also attacked us in last year. This is the reason why we simulate the VR farm. This is the swine farm already that we simulate in Thailand for our university today. Okay, let me talk about the objective of the VR farm. That everybody know the VR is a virtual reality that simulates like the real world of the farm. That you can see everything right as you can visit in the real farm in Thailand, and also in the some province in Thailand. This is the first objective. And also we can access to the online farm everywhere and every time. This is the reason why farm on cow stay forever. This is the second purpose. And also the last purpose of the last objective, the VR farm online, visiting anytime and anywhere that I taught you about. This is the three things that we concern when we need to simulate the VR farm in our university. This is the outcome. When we need to learn and teach about some subject, we need the outcome. We need the outcome first. First output is the VR farm. That the VR farm allows the outcome for the student can visit and investigate the farm through the virtual reality system. This is the first output and outcome. And the second, the VR veterinary clinic starter. It means we have the learning material. We need the instructor that use that learning material. This is the second outcome and output. And also the last, when we have the learning material and the instructor, we need the subject or course that's provided by the instructor and the learning material. This is the third output and outcome that we need when we need to talk about this. Okay, we need to teach through the VR system. When we think about the VR system, we need to do the VR system as a requirement, that we need the requirement. We use the design thinking. This is a new technique that can emphasize and also brainstorm the idea from everybody in the university and in our faculty. After we use the design thinking, we get the farm system characteristic that we need to follow this one. The first one is the third step movement that I'm gonna show you in the VR system. This third step movement that you can bring the student to the online system and see everything in the farm in the virtual reality. And also complete farm structure and the composition. This is something that we got from our brainstorm. And also need the teacher to talking in real time. This means you bring the student to the farm, you need to talk together with the student. And also first person view. Look like you supposed to see in the farm, you can see by yourselves. This is the first person view. And also access to the internet. It means during the COVID situation, epidemic situation, it means every student stay at home and stay at safe home. You need to bring them to the internet system and see everything in the virtual reality. It's just that. And any platform, it means you can allow the student access your system to the mobile phone, to the computer, and also to the Google Classroom, something that you can see the VR in that handheld. And also, this is the plan that we plan to got the content from the farm. We use the Google Earth. Everyone knows the Google Earth. You can mark the area that you need to do. Okay, you need to do in the farm in this area. You open the Google Earth and mark the point. One thing that I have one problem when we got the content from the farm, it means you can access to the farm because you is the farm owner concerned about you being some of the infection disease to the farm as the biosecurity of the farm. It's swine farm. You need to train somebody in the farm, just as the stock worker and also in the animal husbandry and veterinary that stay in the farm to use the camera to got the T160 degree camera. It's something like the panorama picture to got the picture from the farm. And after you train, you mark the point that you need. Okay, you need to see and stay at this point and bring the picture around that point to talk with the student when you need to teach them at the farm visits. You pack the point and after that you got all of the picture and you can use this picture as the virtual reality by some program that you can build the virtual reality by the panorama picture, such as the some 3D viewer. This 3D viewer is okay, and 3D Vista is okay to use as the build the virtual reality system for the farm to teach the student, the veterinary student. This is the after you have the virtual reality farm, you need the manual because the manual can send in everybody, such as a student and also the instructor to read and okay can use it by yourselves. This is something that we view, and also this is the virtual reality farm. You can see like this. I can show you in the this one. May I 1 minute? This is the virtual reality farm that we established in Thailand. When a student, when we need to teach the student can access this system, and also you can use look like the online platform for teaching such as a Microsoft Teams and also in Zoom. You can share this screen and everybody and every student of you can draw and see this together with you. And you can bring them, okay, go inside the farm and third step like this. You can see around by click the mouse and also follow the step to see everything in the composition and structure in the farm, and also teach them like this. Yes. Can bring them and explain about everything and knowledge and the information in the farm together. Look like you bring them in the farm in the real world. Like this. And also see everything. This is a old school farm that you can see everything is not modern. Look like you see in the internet. This is the old style of the Thai farm. That's right now this farm is cold already, but we stay in the internet forever. You can use everywhere and anytime forever because this is in the internet. This is the true advantage of the VR system. Because you bring everything in the internet, you can use it forever. See anything, do it. And sometimes students can go in the system by yourself. Students can draw and see some of the information look like this. Like this. The student can click. I'm so sorry, this is a Thai system to teach the student in Thai. This is the Thai language. The student can read here and also choose the answer. And choose answers, it's okay. The score is counted. After we finish to visit, the score is calculated and tell the student. You can go anywhere and see everything and also talk together and discussion during you in the VR system. Look like you talk in the farm when you bring them in the farm. This is the interpretation. When somebody asked me what difference between the 2D picture and also the VR farm. Because the 2D picture you can see and it just look like the box that to see. The student can not walk around and also see around. It means this VR can open the vision of the student than they stay and see only the picture in the lecture. Because it's around this farm and also see anything. And when they see anything, they can discuss with the lecturer or the teacher. This is the reason why we use this instead the picture that's attached in the PowerPoint already. I go back. See anything? Sometimes we use as the PowerPoint, not the PowerPoint, it's the presentation in some time. As you know, when we go to the conference, you're going to see the poster presentation in the room that you can see and can discuss with the poster. I can show you can use the VR as the poster hall. Like this. You can go inside and also you click at the poster, you can see the poster and read it. This is another thing that we use when we need to discuss about, okay, you assign the assignment to the student and also the student do the poster presentation. You can start in the hall at the VR and allow them to visit the hall to see every poster that the fans build for the information for the student and for their fan. It is a second that we use. And also after we use the VR system, we need the feedback. This is the express opinion of the student who have been taught with the teaching material in the farm of the VR farm. We divide in the teaching First one, the replacement of the real world. 4.7 from 5. This is called the student from the 60 student give us. And also user-friendly for the system. It's okay, 1.9, it's 4.9. And also the integrity of the VR system is need the computer, everything is okay for the system or not, just only 4.4. Yeah, and also access to the reason is 4.8. This is the result that we got from the student, our student. This is a picture that we also use and during the COVID situation. And also the target of the system. We use the API and also the database in the internet and use like the anywhere and anytime. And also the virtual content for the veterinary student. This is the first one that we talk today. And also use this as the training. Some of the animal husbandry and veterinary that need at the veterinary farm for the livestock farm. We can use this system for training and also for the publication. This is the target of it. And also we find the partner.
Our time is up.
Okay, this is yeah, this is for the partner that okay, yes. And also the last thing, this is a problem and obstacle, the access of the technology that concerns, because when we need to go to the VR, we need a handheld device. We survey about the handheld device that the student have in that time. We see everybody in our class, in our faculty, 100% have the mobile phone, the smartphone. This is the first one that why we use the VR is to affect VR so good when we use the VR system, because this is the first thing that you need to consider the handheld device to access the system. Okay, this is all that's today that we need to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Are there any
you.
questions?
Yeah, thanks so much. VR, so I have, gosh, I have lots of questions, but our Kate, would you like to take it over?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lisa. So I have a question from June about virtual farm. So her question is, how long does it take to develop such a virtual farm from idea generation to the launch of the platform?
6 months. We need 6 months.
Okay.
Because yeah, in 1920, not the 19, it's 2020. It's 2020. That we I think around March. That everything in the university stopped under the COVID situation, epidemic in Thailand, and also epidemic in our university. And after in September, we start to use it as a system in our university to learning and teaching. 6 months.
Okay, great. So I have a follow-up question. 6 months, it took a team to develop. I mean, I'm thinking about the manpower required to develop such a platform.
Yes, actually, for the team, yes. For the brainstorm, I think we use around 1 month. For the brainstorming, the idea that we need to combine in the system. 1 month for the brainstorm and everything, and such as the characteristic of the system. This is 1 month, and also allow is the 4 months to collect the material in the farm and also build the material, and 1 month to test at the prototype and run after that.
So it's based on Google Map, and after it's set up, all the students just can access the virtual farm through no other equipment is required for the students, right?
Sorry, again, the signal is not good for me.
Okay, sorry.
I cannot.
So once it's set up, the students can just access the virtual farm through their computer. No extra equipment or extra setup for the students is required, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Do I have any other questions from the participants? Because if you allow me, I'm thinking I have a question for Janice. Actually, this is a generic question, but because of some keywords Janice mentioned, so I'm thinking about pose a question to you. When we are applying some technology tools, include these tools in our teaching, sometimes students feel fun, sometimes students really enjoy the process. But at the end, this is my lesson that I learned a few years ago. Students had a lot of fun, but at the end, when they're reflecting on their learning outcomes, their evaluation of that class was not as high as I thought. They had fun, but at the end, they said, okay, I had fun, it's a party. It's a game, good game. But did I learn that much? No, not exactly. So my question is, what do you think about this when we're choosing a technology? I mean, how much weight does students' feeling take in our selection of technology?
Yeah, Catherine, that's a very good question, because one of the things that we have found in recent years, especially, is technology has become more gimmicky. Started with engaging primary school students with Kahoot, and there's a lot of energy, but whether the real learning occurs is always a struggle. However, I think if you partner the learning that takes place beforehand, meaning the students actually have done their homework, be it watching a video or doing some individual readiness type of work, then what these tools like WooClap and all that basically helps you focus on the main learning point or the main lesson point that you want to make. And that's when it helps the students focus. The second one in where technology I found useful too was to really make them think differently. Some students may think, oh, if you give a topic title and they think they know it, but if you ask them questions that actually force answers that are not usually, and that you can use in technology. So what I do in my WooClap in my classes when I use WooClap is we would have different types of quizzes that test their knowledge. And this knowledge builds onto an activity that they're going to do next. And so that there's a scaffolding of learning that happens. And at the end, usually I would have an exit ticket in which the students have to write down what they have learned or what was the one thing that stuck in their head for that day. And when I do that with the students, if nothing else in that whole entire class, they would have had at least one takeaway. And usually I will have to structure the questions to be more epiphanic. That means, oh, I didn't know that. There would actually be a component of that. And it's not really about fun. Honestly, most of the times our quizzes are not actually that fun. It isn't just simple matching games and things like that. It's usually asking for knowledge that the students have to discuss. So it's part of the team-based learning concept, and in which the student is taking on and thinking about the question and analyzing it, and then having a discussion as a class with it also. Yeah, but I think the tutor has to be really very cognizant of the learning objective.
Okay, thank you, Janice. We have a question for June from Lillian. So she would like to know how frequent the video analytics is being generated. And her follow-up question is, does the individual lecturer generate their own class video analytic data every week themselves, or a coordinator help to generate?
Okay, thank you, Lillian, for the question. So maybe I can give you some context about the introductions of the blended learning approach. Actually, our center each year will make call for proposal for the instructor to propose to we designed their lecture-based course into a blended learning course. So once the proposal got accepted, what we will do is we will have the instructional designer and also an evaluation officer to partner with the instructor to redesign their courses using the blended learning approach. And when the course is ready for implementations, the evaluation officer will join in to help evaluate the effectiveness of the blended learning approach for this course. And this is when the course is being implemented, we would like to support the instructor with the video analytic and also other kind of analytics to help him or her master how the student progress through the 13-week. So to answer your question, because of the blended learning, the weekly learning pattern, so usually we will generate the video analytic for the instructor about 2 to 3 days before the in-class sections, so that he or she can get a good idea about how the students progress. And if in case there are some students that may be at risk, they may not potentially be prepared well for the in-class activities, then that's when the time the instructor got enough time to remind them to watch the video before they come to the class. And in terms of who will generate the learning activities for the instructor, meanwhile, because it's project-based, so our evaluation officer will help to do that. But it's quite simple because the screenshots, the templates that you see actually is built with the Visual Basic programming language. So what the evaluation officer will have to do is just to retrieve the video log from the streaming server and click one button in Excel to have all the data pop into the templates for the instructors to see. So we will provide a weekly report, a report each week to the instructor during the implementations of the blended learning approach.
Thanks, June. Since we're running a little bit behind of schedule now, let's move to the breakout room, and then we'll come back in 10 minutes and let's have some final discussion in the main room after the breakout room. So Melissa just created the breakout room. And we can move. And we are going to share the discussion questions through the share screen to all the rooms.
I think they have 45 seconds and then they will close. Okay, I think we're good. Kate?
Okay, so we had 2 rounds of discussion in the breakout room. Anybody would like to share some key messages from your discussion with the other colleagues? Because you're in the breakout room, we don't know what to talk about, so please feel free to share with us. Because I have been sharing the screen in the main room, so I have no idea what's going on in the breakout room. Might invite some colleagues to share your discussion. I don't know. I hope you don't mind. Just follow my camera gallery view here. Janice, would you like to share something with us?
Yeah. I just was reminded actually. What I want to share was about something that Michael shared with me in the first breakout room, and that was really, even sometimes when we're talking about technology, we get so excited about the bells and whistles of all the different technology that we have, but sometimes the fundamental part of it is there are students who are not even able to access the internet, or even be able to take part in some of this technology. So we actually have a divide, a problem of the socioeconomic divide, or even just simple plain access, even for students at institutes of higher learning. So it bears some thinking about how can we how do we balance it out? So that's something that keeps me thinking, because in Singapore, we're spoiled rotten. Internet is a human basic right now. The first thing you go into a place is like, oh, what's the Wi-Fi password? And only during the pandemic, when we have students who couldn't come into Singapore and who have to dial in from other countries. And I remember one of them was in a war-torn country. He said, oh, they've just bombed out our internet, and we're thinking, oh gosh, there are real issues that are dividing people in different countries. There are issues that divide people even within the country, that there are people who can't afford even the basic access. So that's just got me thinking about our first world problems of sharing, which apps to choose from. Yeah, so I just thought I'll share a random thought like that.
Yeah, I remember I received some students' messages when we just got into the pandemic. They said, some students from Middle East, they said, we don't have the network. I had to go to some computer bar to access the internet. How can I register for the class? How can I attend the class? So that's a problem for us right now. Irma, may I invite you to share something with us?
Yes, I'm writing in the chat the link of the paper that Melissa, you asked me about the memes, but that's not something I did. That's a colleague of mine. And so I'm going to share the link for the paper that I just she's an immunology teacher and she did it for that class. And it was very successful. And so she wrote a paper. So maybe that can help if anyone's interested.
Okay, thank you very much. June? Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, just to share on top of what Janice mentions about some countries, they may not have a stable access to the network. So students may have difficulty to access the online materials while during the pandemic. And actually, from our perspective, some countries may even intentionally block the access. So that's when when we introduce the technologies, we have to also be careful to study whether those technology can be accessed in certain country. Because if our students, majority or most of our students come from that countries, then there could be a disaster. So when we look at all the technologies that we are going to introduce at the institutional level, this will be one of the key elements that we have to constantly check and make sure it works in those areas.
Thank you, June. Nahi?
Actually, I totally agree with June that about the internet, because in some countries, like in Thailand, in some area, the internet is not good. Signal is not good. It means this is the main problem, which main obstacle to the student to access the system. This is the reason why in Thailand we have some idea look like that we divide the center, because the internet you go to the center is the server to get the information. But sometimes some students in the rural area cannot access the internet. We can establish some of the computer that provide the technology and anything in information, and just look like the some center, such a library of the village. You can situate some of the computer, the small computer that provide more information and allow every student in that area access. This is the, I think it's a good idea for divide everything that we build for the internet and divide everything in the rural area that cannot access the internet. This is my opinion.
Thank you. It seems like the access to the internet, to the technology is a big problem during the pandemic for for a lot of our students. We talk about this at the beginning of the pandemic, and 2 years later, we're still talking about it. Hopefully we can gradually solve the problem for our students. Since our time is almost up, and do you have any suggestions for us regarding our future events on education? I mean, feel free to turn on your microphone if you have any suggestion, any topic you would like to discuss with the other colleagues, or any directions, any interests, feel free to let us know. You can speak through the microphone now, or you can also contact Melissa or me through by email later on, and let's get some ideas together, create some interesting activities together, although we are far away from each other right now, but we can work together. But before we end today's discussion, we would like to make an announcement. Today's event is the first session of this webinar series. Following today's event, we have 5 more events. By tomorrow, we have a second session on a different topic: preventing pandemics, future directions of the social sciences in global health. If you are interested in education in teaching and learning, we have another session in early July, which is about innovative assessment strategies. So feel free to join us, or if you have any colleagues interested in these topics, feel free to broadcast the message to them. If you would like to have more information about this webinar series, you can scan the QR code in the middle and to access the APRU website to get more information, including schedule, speakers, profiles. So I bet this is everything for today. Melissa, you got any closing remarks?
Oh, thank you. I would just like to say once again, thank you so much to our speakers and to Kate as well for sharing your expertise with us. We really appreciate you being part of it. And thank you to those who joined. I hope you found this useful, and we'll look forward to seeing you at another webinar coming up. Have a great day or evening.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day and good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Melissa and Kate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.